Um, Bit of a money trail, I guess, between medical marijuana somehow leading to Steve Stenger. County Executive Steve Stenger wanted to join us before that conversation, so of course we give him the time he asked for. Steve Stenger, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
McGraw, thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You betcha. So, not without explaining the entire column to everyone, it's on stltoday.com. You clearly have some issues with this column.
I do, and I really want to talk about a couple issues related to the column, and I think one's going to clear some of maybe this column and some of his other columns that he's written about me up. So he writes a column that says that there is a trail, a money trail, that leads from a legalization effort of medical marijuana to me, and it's simply false. I have not. I realize we're on the radio. I'm talking to the public. I'm talking to you. I have not formulated a public policy with regard to medical marijuana because it's largely a state issue, and at this point it's highly speculative. It has to be approved by a vote of the people, has to be certified. I mean, there's a number of legal hurdles that it would have to go through before it would ever reach someone like me at my level. So I have, frankly, I have very little knowledge about what's even going on with it. So to suggest that there's a money trail that leads from that effort to me is quite literally preposterous. And I think I can clear some of this up. I want to raise another issue in light of this column and other columns that he's written. So in July of last year, I received word about an odd phone call that a woman named Chris Nicastro had received. And McGraw, Chris Nicastro, you may know, it was the former Missouri Commissioner of Education. She's a superintendent at Hazelwood and Riverview Garden School Districts. Lots of connections in North County, lots of labor connections, and she's a true professional. I was told that Chris Nicastro had received a call from my political opponent in my Democratic primary, a guy named Mark Mantovani. So I contacted her and wanted to ask her about it because I was told that the call was a rather odd one. So I called her. She told me that she had received a call from, as I said, Mark Mantovani. Mark Mantovani is a longtime Republican activist, but he's running in a Democratic primary against me. Multimillionaire, working with none other than Tony Messenger, as it appears.
What do you mean working with Tony Messenger?
Well, I'll explain that. So in my conversation with Chris, I learned that in Mantovani's call to Chris, he advised her that Tony Messenger had told him to call her, and that Messenger was helping him, connect with important people locally so that his campaign could be a success. As I said, Chris Nicastro is an important person, and particularly in North County. She's got lots of labor contacts, lots of contact in that community. Now, I'm struck by the call, and I think that she was struck by the phone call, in that Messenger, who is supposed to be a journalist, I would think that he should not be giving campaign advice to my political opponent and then writing attack pieces on me, and particularly writing attack pieces about me without disclosing what I think those important facts are to the public. That he is giving campaign advice to Mark Mantovani is a clear violation to me of journalistic ethics. I think it undercuts the validity of anything that he's writing about me. I think it shows and demonstrates he has an agenda and that he can't be fair and objective. And I think that by working behind the scenes to advise my political opponent and keeping that activity secret from his readers while he's writing attack pieces about me, I think that Tony and the Post-Dispatch have violated the public's trust. And I think that's a trust that they should have with the community. I think that this demonstrates that they don't have much regard for it. I have a few questions about these violations. Is Mantovani paying Tony for his campaign work? Is this the kind of donation that should be reported as an in-kind? And does the Post-Dispatch even know that Tony has been working with my opponent and violating the paper's ethics policy by acting as a campaign worker? I mean, the workers at the Post are encouraged to not even have yard signs in their yards, much less having direct access to a candidate and assisting a candidate in making connections in the community. And I'd like to know if the paper intends to address what I think is a blatant ethical breach.
Who is Mark Mantovani again? So people, because there's a lot, you have a lot on the table here. I want people to understand what you're saying.
There's a lot to cover in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But Mark Mantovani is a longtime Republican who's running against me in my Democratic primary.
Right.
He's given tens of thousands of dollars to Eric Greitens. He's, in fact, one of Eric Greitens' largest campaign contributors, which is somewhat surprising that Tony would be helping an individual like that.
So the allegation is that Tony Messenger is helping a Republican defeat you in your campaigns along the way.
In a Democratic primary, of all things, for Tony.
Right.
But, the conversation took place on July 11th of 2017, and it was a real conversation. Mark Mantovani contacted Chris Nicastro, advised Chris Nicastro that Tony Messenger advised Mark Mantovani to call her because she was an important person in North County and had important contacts that he might need in order to defeat me.
Yeah. Mark Mantovani wouldn't have known this any other way except Tony giving him this advice? I mean, it sounds like it's not that much of an open secret that this Chris person is pretty important up in North County.
Well, it might be important, but I think it's factually very important that Tony Messenger was giving him that advice. Could he have learned it somewhere else? I don't know. I don't know that Mark Mantovani knows, Chris Nicastro or even knows of her. But he certainly learned of her through Tony Messenger in this case. And I think that type of assistance and then writing attack pieces about me without disclosing that to the public, essentially keeping that secret from his readers, I think that reeks of an ethical problem.
Okay. Back to the medical marijuana story, which kicked this all off here in just a second. When he wrote this column to you or about you, did he call and ask you for a comment or interview?
He asked me for an interview, and I will tell you that my experience with Tony and interviews has not been a good one. So I refused an interview because what he'll do is take your words, twist them, and you wind up with partial comments being taken, essential facts being left out. So we stuck with a very short and straightforward statement, which is basically I have nothing to do with this effort, and that was that.
If and when medical marijuana ever comes to Missouri, and if and when it's ever passed by the voters, and if and when it's ever signed off and everything else, who is in charge of giving out licenses for the medical marijuana dispensaries?
And I will tell you, at this point, I have no idea as I sit here today.
Do you think you would have any say in that at all?
I suppose that if all of the various things that you just went through came to be true, there is a possibility, and I say a possibility, that local officials, I don't know if it would be me, I don't know if it would be the county council, I don't know who it would be, but local officials could conceivably have a role in those things that you're talking about.
Steve Stenger, County Executive. Anything else you want to mention while you're here with us?
No, I thank you for the time, and it's always a pleasure on your show.
Steve Stenger, St. Louis County Executive. Thanks, sir.